Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Dario here with another options and play video update. Uh, we have a short trading week because of the President's Day holiday, which is on Monday, so only 4 sessions. But as it normally works out, I mean, Mondays are usually a little bit slower from earnings perspective to begin with. So I feel like we're really not sacrificing a whole lot. I mean, definitely a busy week, and you'll see by the end of this video that there's a lot of big names to report. So Tuesday before the open, which if you are interested in trading, you got to be in. Uh, you got to be in today because the report before the open on Tuesday, CVS. So it's pricing in about 3.5 points. This was a focus earlier in 2021 for us when it began to wake up. Like nice move in January. Now pulled back, been kind of consolidating. I guess it's kind of an interesting pattern again. I mean, especially with the stock hanging underneath like the 75, 76 level. I mean, if the numbers are good, gets through that, could be some move, could be some room. It may not be a huge mover, but clean break of that resistance area, and there could be a nice little extension on that one. Um, Palantir, priced in about 5.5 points. I really have no clue what to make of this. Just being perfectly honest. It's obviously been a hot name. I just really, and it's not just Palantir. I mean, it's GameStop, it's BlackBerry, it's AMC. I don't know if earnings are going to be that big of a catalyst because there's so many cross currents at play. Um, Plus, option pricing, it's not cheap. And last quarter, it really didn't do a whole lot when it reported. So, I mean, overall, it's just like a real tough setup for me. And I think, I mean, just leaving it alone probably makes the most sense on my end. We'll see what the numbers look like. We'll see what the stock looks like, and then we can go from there. After the close on Tuesday, Exact Sciences. So about 14 points is what's expected on this one. I always try to play this around the JP conference, the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, because they typically guide early. They actually did again this year. That's when you had like this really nice spike, which we were involved with. Now the stock has been kind of chopping around, strong today. My rule though is to usually avoid stocks that have already guided. So I'm probably going to follow that rule on this one. Solar Edge. So about 42 points are what priced in on these options. I'm definitely starting to get more focused on the solar stocks again. Some tight patterns, and then we're starting to see some more earnings roll out. I don't know if I'm going to play this name specifically, but I might look at other names in the sector because there's a couple other ones reporting later in the week. Also, man, I really like some of like the setups that are developing. So I think if Solar Edge is good, then that kind of builds on what's already been a couple good reports. So definitely focused on the solar names into this coming week. All right, Wednesday before the open, analog devices, pricing about 6.5 points. Big semi report, but it's really not my favorite name in the group. It does look solid, but I could probably name just off the top of my head like 3 or 4 other stocks that are very similar setups but don't have the earnings risk. So I don't think I'm going to do anything with this one. Shopify. So about 112 points or so is what they're looking for on this one. And I mean, you can see its stock has just been on a ridiculously good run the last couple of weeks, up a ton. Options are pricing in a massive, massive move. As much as I would like to trade it, I mean, I just do not see a good setup now. Not after the run it's had. So I'm probably gonna have to leave this one alone. Wix. So Wix, on the other hand, priced it in 26 points, and definitely seems like a better setup. When I scroll out, you can see why. Still kind of within the consolidation for the past few months. It hasn't been as consistent around earnings as Shopify has, but it does seem to have potential if it can clear 300 on a good print. I mean, you get a pent up move. Could be a really nice one, but they're really gonna have to deliver. They have a history of mixed quarters, and that's what's kind of weighed on the stock around reports in the past. So they've really got to have like a clean beat and raise, but there could be some potential in that one. After the close on Wednesday, Baidu, so big name, which has been on a big run, pricing in 31 points. To be honest, just another one where it's really hard to read. I have no much. I have no idea how much is like left in the tank. Are earnings even relevant at this point because the stock has been running off of like EV news, right? Um, and I don't know if earnings are going to move the needle that much. You have basically a parabolic chart, expensive options, earnings, which haven't been a huge catalyst on it recently. So I think it just might be a better swing trade candidate after the numbers come out, but we'll see. Fastly, so this could be a crazy one. They're pricing about 16 points. Akamai, Cloudflare, Limelight all traded lower this week on earnings, and those are like the three maybe closest competitors for Fastly. It definitely has a pattern of big moves, and I feel like this quarter could definitely see that again. But at 16 plus points, I mean, this is going to have a monster swing. And I feel like the only way I could approach is if I got debit down on both sides. But it does seem like a decent volatility strategy candidate. SunPower. So another solar name like I was talking about before. This one's pricing in about 825-ish. We were pretty active trading this last year. Haven't been involved this year. I think they might have to really crush it versus some of the other solar stocks. This one's rallied a lot more because of the short interest. But if they do, momentum, short interest, good numbers, it could lead to like another leg up. But again, I'm probably going to look at like other solar names in the sector just because just a group that I kind of want to focus on to the coming week. Twilio, another big name. Pricing in about 42 points. Stock looks great, but I mean, right at its 52-week high going into earnings, it's had a huge run just in the last 2 weeks. It's like this particular setup has been tough on software stocks. I mean, things have just jacked higher into earnings, and I mean, Trade Desk last quarter's guide hurt the stock. So I mean, it hasn't been like a clean. It hasn't been a clean. Um, it hasn't been clean around earnings recently, and I think I just prefer to view this as a swing trade candidate after the numbers. I mean, we've done that in the past. It's worked out okay, and I think that's what I'd rather do than lay out the money for earnings this time around. Um, Thursday before the open, Fiverr. So another stock that's had a huge run over the last 2 weeks. We're pricing in 38 points. Right at its 52-week high. Expectations are high. Option pricing is high. Upwork could be a decent sympathy play on this, but you know, both have really had substantial runs, and both are pricing in pretty big moves. So, I mean, I guess after the run it's had, I'd be maybe slightly more cautious on Fiverr going into earnings. Walmart. So big retail report. Pricing about 6 points. Interesting. This seems to be like the first quarter, maybe in a couple that it hasn't rallied into earnings. It has lifted off its low, but other quarters it's rallied real sharply into earnings. And I don't know, maybe it's because it's been kind of leaking or lagging a bit. It's off its high, and maybe it follows that pattern and wakes up the next few days and goes on a run into earnings. If it doesn't, actually could be kind of an interesting one. Maybe look at like a speculative bull strategies, just to see if the numbers are good and it closes some of the recent performance lag, makes a run. Because this is like the first time where it hasn't really gotten jacked up into earnings, and maybe that actually sets up a better opportunity into the report. After the close on Thursday, AMAT, so another big semi. The price in 6.5 points. Stock has been acting great. Lamb, Clack, those could be nice sympathy plays on this because they're all pretty closely correlated and they don't report during the week. Big C. So about 9.5 points is what they're expecting here. It's a big week for e-commerce software plays. This one definitely could be a mover. The problem is that it hasn't been a huge mover on earnings in the past. It could be. I feel like it has moved intraday a lot, and there have been periods when it's been volatile, but it hasn't always been volatile around earnings. So kind of like a weird combination. I'm just, I guess I'm not sure I'd be able to design a strategy where I can get risk low enough to capitalize on this. So even though it's somewhat interesting, I may end up having to avoid it. Arista. So 31, 32 points is what they're looking for here. Has quietly been really impressive since last quarter. Stock's hanging just underneath its all-time high. If I scroll out, you can see option pricing. It's not cheap, but it's also not crazy based on the chart. And it also has a history of moving around earnings. So this might be something to look at for maybe like a speculative volatility strategy later in the week. Roku, another big name. So about 63 points is what's priced in on this, and I don't have any idea what to make of it. Stock has not stopped going up. It's up 100% from when it last reported. Um, Seems to have extremely high expectations going into earnings, and it doesn't have a consistent history around earnings either. So to me it is very tough laying out this type of premium on options after this type of move on a stock that doesn't have a consistent history. So needless to say, I'm most likely avoiding this. Maybe I'll make a play on it after, but in terms of earnings, I'm probably avoiding. Trade desk. So about 104, 105 points is what they're expecting. Um, Absolutely crushed it last quarter. Stock had a huge gap, ran after. It's actually pulled back and it's in kind of like a quick little consolidation. I guess it wouldn't surprise me to see this ramp ahead of the report. So whether or not there's a trade on earnings, I guess is going to depend on where it is into the print. Um, and then last but not least, Friday before the open is Deer. So about 14 points is what's expected here. Had a big beat and raise in November. It's continued to grind higher. Looks very steady, and it seems like it could have more upside. But the only thing that concerns me is that on that big beat and raise last quarter, it actually really didn't move a whole lot. So stock set its high, didn't move a whole lot. Similar setup last quarter. Kind of a toss-up for me. I guess we'll see how the week goes, see if things are moving around, and then maybe make a play on this for Friday morning. All right. So a bunch of big names. I mean, there's even more that I didn't even talk about. So it should be busy, even though it's like a short week. Lots to look forward to, and hopefully we'll make some money. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information on trading earnings with options or option swing trading, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, wonderful long weekend. Stay well, and I will talk to you all on Monday.